Moana stumbles out of the gate. The battle for Letterboxd heats up, and so much more in this episode of Beyond the Screen. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode. My name's Ryan. That's Jake. We're your hosts, and this is Beyond the Screen. Jake, how are you, man? We found out some interesting information before this. I do want to put that out there first. Tell us how you are, and then get into the information, because I think it's hilarious.
I've got some news.
Bro's got news.
Some news. I wrote it down because I forgot, and then I found out, and I was like, I need to write that down. They added cushions to Minecraft, all right? And that may not sound like a crazy big thing to individuals out there who don't know what cushions mean. Well, every update, if they add a new block to Minecraft, it usually means some kind of technological advancement in redstone, which is basically like the electrical engineering, like just electrical stuff. So cushions have now spawned a new form of travel, which if you sit on a cushion and then tap another cushion, you jump to it. And I think it has whatever your reach is, which is like 6 blocks. So if you spam the tap button or like the sit button, you can travel 6 blocks at a time. And so people are using it like rail, basically, which...
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It's faster than the actual rail block. Literally, there's a minecart system. It's Minecraft, but there's a minecart system. It's faster than that. It's not faster than like other forms, but it is funny that cushions now provide a secondary or even not even tertiary, like probably the 4th or 5th version of transportation. That's not necessarily what I'm getting at here. They have figured out that if you put different colored cushions, because you can dye them, on top of a light block, so I'm trying to like keep it very generic. There are blocks that can be electrical impulses and they light up. If you put one on top, it'll light the cushion. And people have figured out that you can make LEDs because you can have the red cushion, the blue cushion, and the green cushion, and a yellow cushion. And so we are like this close from getting TVs in Minecraft.
What a weird way to say...
We could already play video games in like Pac-Man in Minecraft already. Like people have made computers in Minecraft and calculators, and they have made Pac-Man. Now we actually get TVs.
Has anyone already... I mean, the joke is that like we can literally play Dune on like cells. Like we can program...
Yeah.
Can we do that in Minecraft yet?
Yeah.
I was about to say, I figured we would. If not, this would be the reason we could. But what a crazy roundabout. Like, we started with cushions, but because of the conduit blocks, essentially, is what they are. I mean, they're not called that. They're light blocks, but the blocks that
glowstone blocks.
Yeah, exactly. Huh.
Yeah, because like if the way that you play, you have to use like a cauldron, and you put a cushion on top of a cauldron, and then you can break the cauldron and place a light block underneath it, and then when you power the light block, the cushion lights up.
The cultural impact and the way Minecraft has genuinely made advances in our human society since its release in like 2009 is utterly ridiculous.
Yep.
And all they did was create a cushion for your character to sit on.
Yeah. Every time there's a new block, it's a entirely new I call it like Bronze Age. It's like a new age of technology.
Yeah.
Every time they add a new block. They recently added like sulfur cubes and like Yellowstone Park, like geysers, like sulfur geysers and stuff. And people, I saw one build where it would automatically bring you back to wherever you built the geyser, because they were using these like teleportation, they're called ender pearls, but if you throw them, you like teleport to that spot. So if you throw them, you're not going to get very far. But what they've done is if you throw it into the geyser, it's shooting it up and stays shooting it up. And then they've set it on like a day-night switch through the electrical engineering side of Minecraft. And once it becomes night, the geyser turns off. And the ender pearl will hit the ground, which teleports you wherever you are back to home base. So if you go on a trip and you want to be back at night, it will just force you to come back as soon as the sun goes down. And that's what people are using geysers for. That's one use case.
Yeah. That is sick. That like I love how, and it doesn't just create like a new Bronze Age with technology in like a mini type of way.
Yeah.
It is also like a race. It's the replayability so high because it's a race back for these coders and these really intelligent people to go back in and be like, okay, what can I do with this thing? Essentially, how can I break this to make something cooler, which is sick. But I do want to say secondarily, that was not what I meant when I said the fun fact. But Jake, that's arguably a lot cooler than the fun fact I was talking about. I do have some quick like breaking news before we start our first segment, I should say. But the fun fact that I was referring to was Jake discovered as we were looking through our Spotify analytics that 43% of our viewers for the last, was it 28 days?
That's something like 30 probably.
Were from Japan.
Yeah.
So, hello, Japanese viewers. Thank you for being here. That just kind of caught what Jake was like reading the stats, and we were all just kind of doing our pre-production meeting, just talking. And he said 43%, and I like took a second. And I was like, 43? Like that's such a high number. And like we looked through all the demographics, and like it is crazy how many people in the last 30 days on all not just Spotify, but like across all of the podcasting apps. So what is it? It's iHeart. It's Amazon, it's Apple, and Spotify. 43% in the last essentially month across those platforms have been from the island of Japan, which
could be a VPN.
Could be a VPN. That could be a VPN. But I do like the idea that it is like a lot of Japanese viewers, which because it'd just be cool.
Like Hank Hill.
Beyond the Screen goes international. Yeah, you like Hank Hill. Anyway. Thank you guys for being here wherever you're from. It's actually sick. We have a lot of new faces this week. Our last video did fairly well. So thank you guys for everyone who was a part of that to watch and to make it as big as it was in terms of it's now our most viewed episode thus far in the history of our show, especially in this iteration since hopping over from Hollow Moon. For those who know, before we got to Beyond the Screen, we were on another channel, and before Beyond the Screen had its own YouTube. So thank you for being here and for allowing us to do this. So what a fun way to start our episode. A couple fun facts. But now let's get serious because it's a little bit sad. The legend Sam Neill, the legendary actor who played Alan Grant in Jurassic Park, passed away today. He was 78 years old, I believe. And yes, he was 78 years old. He was born in Northern Ireland, but he's listed in the overview on Google as a New Zealand actor. The legendary actor passed away today, so rest in peace, Sam Neill. That is rather tragic because it is one of the films that kind of like defines cinema, and like seeing his face. Anytime you talk about movies, Spielberg pops up, Jurassic World Park, I might have said, or yeah, Jurassic Park pops up, and Sam Neill, his face as Alan Grant. So sad news. But we want to get that out. What else did he do? Yes, wanted to go. Or sorry, you said what else he do? Or
what else did he do?
He also did, so he was in Possession in 1981, Event Horizon in 97. He reprised his role as Grant in Jurassic World. He was in Jurassic Park 3, and a couple of more. It says he's credited for Bicentennial Man with Robin Williams, and a handful of others.
He was the actor Odin in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh, really?
I don't know. He's going to be in Godzilla X Kong Supernova, whatever.
Oh, very cool.
Next year, so he's still got some stuff that's yet to come out.
So yeah, he will live on in infamy for the rest of time, really, because of just the legacy that he leaves behind. But yeah, just wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about the legend himself, Mr. Neill, and again, rest in peace. And with that, we can go ahead and hop into our first segment, which, as always, is the box office. If you're new here and you don't know how we start our show, every single week we go over our predictions from last week. We have a bit of a competition. It's me, it's Jake, and we compete against Claude, who we call TJ the bot. If you want to know what TJ means, last season we competed against ChatGPT. We called him Jimmy, and we thought it'd be funny if we called Claude Timmy, and the joke just devolved into Tim Jim because we thought that was hilarious, and so we called him Tim or TJ. So Claude is TJ, and we all compete. Let's go ahead and show you the results from this past weekend's set of predictions. We all predict the top 5 for each and every week, go up against each other. And as you can see, the scores are tight on the season. We will have a winner come the end of the season, come next Oscar, kind of like in March, come the next Oscars. I predicted, starting us off, with Moana at 1, Evil Dead Burn at 2, Toy Story 5 at 3, Minions and Monsters at 4, and Young Washington at 5. And I got 3 out of 5 correct. A good week for me, getting Moana, Toy Story 5, and Young Washington 1, 3, and 5 all correct. Jake got 2 of 5 this week. Getting Moana, Evil Dead Burn, Minions and Monsters, Toy Story 5, and Young Washington, or getting that as his prediction, I should say, from this last week, and having Moana and Young Washington as correct. And TJ had the exact same thing as I did and got 3 out of 5. Again, we both predicted Moana, Evil Dead Burn, Toy Story 5, Minions and Monsters, and Young Washington. Again, 1, 3, and 5 in that order correct. That brings our season totals to Jake leading the way still above me by 3 points with 46. I have 43, and TJ's right in the middle of us with 44. So again, Jake 46, TJ 44, me 43. Very tight race, Jake. The race continues. Each and every week it gets more and more interesting. How do we feel?
Anybody's game, man. But you lucked into your third, both of y'all. So
don't feel like I got lucky.
You were wrong in the order, but because you were wrong in the order, you got a third, and you owe Emily her prediction as well.
Oh yes. Before we move on, it wasn't on the graph. Emily wins the weekend, by the way. Our director from behind the scenes predicts every week, but she asks us not to read it every week because she's just playing along with us. But we want to give her flowers because she predicted 4 out of 5 correct this week, predicting Moana, Minions and Monsters, Toy Story 5, Evil Dead Burn, and then she had Obsession at 5, which not a bad guess considering Obsession only dropped another 27%. It just, after so many weeks out, it's like, what, week 9 now? It did fall short. Young Washington held on to the top 5 spot.
It's losing theaters.
It is losing theaters, but a great weekend from Emily getting 4 out of 5 correct. And to go back to your point, what he means from our audience, he's saying that like I predicted wrong, but I just happened to get the positioning correct. I did not predict that Minions and Monsters would beat Toy Story 5, and Jake did, but he predicted it as a number down. So I just having predicted Minions and Monsters coming in 4th behind Toy Story at 3. I just happened to get Toy Story 5 correct. But I still got it over you. I would rather be lucky than good on any given day, because sometimes that's all you need. But TJ and I won the weekend and closed the gap on that lead that he had accumulated over the past month. Again, you're only up 3 over me.
Lead.
It's very close.
I only call it a lead if I'm over 5, because that means you can't actually catch up in one episode.
Right.
I would call that a lead.
We're at the point, it's not even like if one of us gets like 5 out of 5, we tie it. We are at the point that if one of us gets 4 out of 5, we could take the lead. And like if another has a bad week. So it's going to be very interesting. But let's get into the numbers. Let's delve into everything that happened this past week and go 1 through 5 and give you the accurate numbers. So the top 5 are as follows. Moana starts us off at number 1 with Minions and Monsters at 2, Toy Story 5 at 3, Evil Dead Burn debuts to 4, and Young Washington in its second week falls to 5th. Let's go back to the top and tell you a little bit about how much they earned. In its debut, Moana earned $43.1 million domestically and $95 million globally on a $250 million budget. Mind you, this is the live-action adaptation that nobody asked for. While taking the top spot at the box office, this latest live-action reboot from Disney lands almost $20 million below expectations. By the way, this $43 million domestic opening is just barely more than last year's Snow White, the abysmal release that was Snow White, which earned only $42 million. So barely over $1 million more than what was considered one of their biggest flops of all time. Those who saw the movie actually enjoyed it, with the film earning a 90% on the popcorn meter, which is from viewers, like the audience, general audiences. The same cannot be said for critics, however, who gave the film a dismal 34% on the tomato meter. So not uncommon to see critics and fans completely split. However, call it what you call it. It is a dense weekend for family films, for Disney films especially, with Minions, with Toy Story 5. I think that hurt it a lot. And on top of it, it's the same story that was told less than a decade ago. So I think that hurts it a lot as well. But again, those who saw it loved it, yet not many went to go see it. Moving on to number 2, Minions and Monsters in its second weekend earned $21.1 million domestically and pushes its global tally to $280 million. Despite a weak opening last week, the lowest in franchise history for Illumination, and a 45% drop in ticket sales this weekend, Illumination's latest Minion movie still looks to turn a profit at the box office. The film only cost $85 million to produce. It's already earned almost $300. It's going to be fine. They're going to make another one, and if they can drum up enough hype for that one like they did the Minions movie from 2022, they'll be fine. So Illumination's not sweating in the slightest. Coming in at number 3 is, again, Toy Story 5 in its 4th weekend in theaters. After a month, it earned $19 million domestically and $879.1 million globally thus far. Still running on very solid legs, Disney's Legacy sequel continues to draw in audiences as it encroaches on the $1 billion earned mark. Another billion. Another cool billion for Disney. Listen, regardless of what you want to say, where they have one that fails to succeed, they've got another that's already up there. You can't really argue. More often than not, they've got 2 movies in the top 5, and one of them's usually doing very well. So Toy Story 5, kicking it, killing it right now, and they will just continue to for the next couple of weeks, even in coming into week 5 and 6. Coming in at 4th is Evil Dead Burn, debuting to $13.7 million domestically and $27 million earned so far globally, with a budget of $20 million, earning a little over than half of the original domestically, which, again, last week we talked about the original, the one from 2022, Evil Dead Rise, earned $24 million in its debut, going on 4 years ago. This film earned a little over half of that. The Dailies makes the point that this could be another sign that legacy horrors is continuously losing popularity to original works. While we don't disagree with that idea in the slightest, because we talked about it, that is definitely something that's happening, and it's something that should be learned by major media outlets and producing outlets as a whole. What do we think could be another reason for the film's lackluster performance? Even though it's still earning more, it's still doing fine, but it's not comparing to its last release, that is Rise. Burn's not doing as well. Why do we think that is?
I'm not sure the audience is there. I mean, well, Dad never texted me after the last episode saying, "Hey, man, you're wrong. There's plenty of," I don't know. Now he's going to text me. But I remember looking up these images, and it's just like, it's not my cup of tea. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why people aren't going to it. Is it, you know?
I
the answer?
I have a theory,
Oh,
and I was curious.
There's a Reddit.
Yeah, I have a theory, and I was curious if you were going to go through. So the film currently is a 71% on the tomato meter and an 81% on the popcorn meter, which are decent marks for a horror film, especially. Even more so when you consider that that's a very slim margin. Both critics and audiences generally agree that this is a decent movie. My big thing, did you see any marketing for this?
I did not, but I'm not. That's what some guys were saying. So this is the Reddit thread of why didn't Evil Dead Burn perform as well as Evil Dead Rise in its opening week? And the trailers were very muted and dull looking from what I saw. Rise seemed more dynamic. And then this guy said, "I did watch the movie, and you're right. The color is like awful."
Yeah.
And that's just somebody saying, it's like, just a little more saturation would have been appreciated. And then filmmakers have forgotten horror movies don't need to be ugly. Lots of great horror is about the contrast between beauty and ugliness, good and evil. I don't know what that's.
So a lot of people who did go see it or who are fans of the franchise are saying that they don't like the color. Rise definitely generated a lot more buzz. It was very, very beautiful in terms of how it was done in its execution. The marketing
Some say
was not
fatigue.
there.
Yeah, marketing wasn't there.
I don't think
this person said obsession in back rooms.
I don't think so. I don't think there's fatigue from the franchise because there's so much love for the lore that Sam Raimi has laid out with with the Necronomicons and that whole lore of Evil Dead. And listen, those people were saying horror was dead before interesting horror movies came out, right? That is the Backrooms, that is Obsession, that is Markiplier's Iron Lung. I think what happened was the marketing was bad. You got people who are saying, yeah, like the trailer looked muted and dead. I'm a horror fan. I love horror movies. I didn't really get any trailers for that film. I didn't really get any marketing for that film.
Somebody also said that Evil Dead Burn is listed on doesthedogdie.com, which that's one comment that says is an automatic no for some people. And I don't want to get like gruesome here, but yes, and fork. That was how.
Yikes.
So,
see, yeah, I remember seeing the trailer. I didn't really pay attention enough to really and now looking back, I shouldn't say I wasn't paying attention enough. It was just so many months ago that I don't really remember it, to be so for real with you. But beyond the initial trailer that happened however many months ago, I don't remember seeing anything for it. And I think it was bad marketing. Whereas with Rise, it was everywhere. I knew that was coming out. It looked freaky. Like, I knew about that movie. This one, like, I knew it was coming out just because we do this, but I didn't see it in the wild, which I think that's the biggest reason in my mind, is that the marketing for this film was bad. The production house, marketing house, they dropped the ball with this one. And because again, it's received well. Critics are giving it a 71, which they don't really like horror films anyway. For it to have a 70 something, that's pretty good. And audiences are giving it a respectable 81%, which is not bad. That's, again, a slim margin for audience and critics to be separate by, right? Usually they're a lot farther. People who went to go see it are generally enjoying it, or at least saying it was a good movie. I think if it had the marketing behind it, you could say whatever you want about saturation. You could say whatever you want about color. I think that if the marketing was behind it like it was for Rise, I think it would have had a very similar, because think about it. Bad marketing and all, it still earned over half of what the last one did.
Mm-hmm. So there's, I guess I have 4 comments here that I guess sum it up. Way less marketing that started super late and is much worse and more crowded release date.
Yeah.
Worse marketing, worse reception, franchise fatigue, and then this person says the film is too serious and too brutal. 3 films into the series now of the Evil Dead, the new Evil Dead films. No anchoring character, silliness turned down to 0, and it's replaced with copious amounts of endurance gore.
See, I need to see Burn, because the thing is, I've not seen that one yet, but if they did turn down kind of the silliness, that's the whole point. Like Sam Raimi, like the original film is very campy. And that's why a lot of people love it. But it had a very interesting story, and it was still was like eerie. The vibes were still very much a horror film. That is rather disappointing that but the thing is, Rise was a little bit more serious, and it was a great movie. So I feel like just because it didn't work this time, people are going to point to that. It is rather disappointing that it's not, just because of what it originally was. But I don't like that as an excuse to say this one didn't do as well when it really was just marketing. It could still take itself too seriously and be too much gore porn. Like I've said before, I hate gore porn to an extent. But like, I don't know. I don't like to say, oh, now that this one isn't as good as the last one, now this thing that made the last one all right is a problem.
Well, they're saying that it's like 30 minutes too long, and there's bloat, like it's just too bloated, and then the last hour is just wrestling and fighting with nothing at stake, and something else that it was just like you said, gore.
And
it was not silly enough.
Those are valid critiques. Anyway, that's very interesting, and I'm happy to see that those who are franchise fans and those who like have actually seen the movie generally have given their 2 cents, and that marketing is the problem, I think, but it's just seems to be not as good of a film. We will have to watch it, or I'll have to watch it and let you guys know what I think. And rounding out our top 5 is Young Washington in its second weekend in theaters. The Angel Studios production earned $6.9 million domestically and has pushed its domestic total to $33.1 million. If you're asking why a domestic total instead of a global total, it did not go outside of the U.S. By the way, this is a 67% drop in ticket sales, which I'm sure is funny to a number of people. Other films from around the box office. A24's The Invite finishes 6th, with Supergirl and Disclosure Day both dropping from the top 5, finishing 8th and 9th, respectively. As always, Jake, I'm going to ask you the question. Taking a look at the rest of the box office, what catches your eye?
One theater brought in Minions and Monsters this week. One added.
Wow.
Which is not accurate. If there were 50 that dropped it and 51 that added it, it would say +1.
Right.
So,
it's a net +1. It's not a +1.
Yeah.
It's
a change over over the week. But we did see The Invite gain 1,500, almost 1,600 theaters, which put it at 6th. Still estimated, but 5.7 million. So if it had pushed maybe further into that normal 3,000 mark that we usually see an A24 film come out to, it might have taken 5 over Young Washington.
Yeah. A24 has a history of doing that, where they will just, because this is technically the Invite's 3rd weekend, according to Box Office Mojo, in theaters. They like to do that slow rollout and then generate buzz and then hit. But if they would have gone 2,500 plus theaters, it would have been top 5 and earned a lot more money. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, too, they also, if we remember last year, like just in history, They also tend to do this the closer we get to Oscar season. Like they want to generate buzz, so they'll do the slow New York premieres and hit the big cities first and then go nationally. Again, because they want people to talk about it. People say they love The Invite. Seth Rogen, Olivia Wilde, and more in this one. So who's to say?
Sorry, I'm looking through Does the Dog Die? It's like any movie that y'all know, y'all want to check? Top of
I
your head.
know
Ryan, you got one?
Good Boy, but I know I have a feeling.
Give me an obscure one. Crazy movie.
When you say Does the Dog Die, I want to say Cats versus Dogs. That's all I think about. Oh, you know what you should do? You should do All Dogs Go to Heaven.
See.
Bro's
Which
checking
one?
it.
First one or the second one?
Doesn't matter.
I remember the
Just
second one.
pick it. Just pick one.
Yes.
I don't think we have to check that with a film named All Dogs Go to Heaven, but I like
literally
the thoroughness.
One of the comments says, "Yeah, but nothing anywhere near as graphic as the first movie. Everyone just moves to either heaven or hell without the impact of an actual death scene." So apparently in the first one it was worse.
Bro, the first one is like a redemption story about this dog who's like, "Give me another chance," and it is so sad because you know it's happening. It's like the whole point of that film was to teach young kids about the finality of life, right? The finality of life, I should say. So it's like the idea of like death comes for us all, so take advantage of the life you have. But they did it in the most traumatic way possible. Like think Fox and the Hound, like level of trauma, or the Old Yeller.
Ooh, I wonder what
like,
that one gets rated.
What Fox and the Hound?
Yeah. Does he?
Well, not dog. Technically Fox. Do you count? Is Fox closer related to dogs?
Oh Jesus! What's this podcast about?
I don't know. Well, now I got to know. Are foxes closer to dogs or cats? Foxes are part of the Canidae dog family, making them closely related to wolves and domestic dogs.
Okay.
However, their behavior and biology are often described as cat software on a dog hardware. I guess that's valid. Okay. So
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
I guess you can say the dog does die in Fox and that.
Spoilers.
Bro, that film's like 50 years old. I don't want to hear it. Anyway, let's end this before we make people sad about talking about dogs dying in cinema. And let's talk about our predictions. Jake, lead us off. Tell us what you predicted and why.
I predicted The Odyssey at 1 because obviously this is the film to see next week. It's a Nolan. It's all practical. Tom Holland's in it. Matt Damon's in it.
Robert Pattinson.
Elliot Page.
Dude who plays Punisher. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Yep. The guy who doesn't take naps.
Let me tell you something.
He's gonna tell. Hey, rumor has it he says that. Rumor has it he says, "Let me tell you
John
something"
Bernthal.
in The Odyssey.
John
Bernthal says. Rumor has it says, "Let me tell you something" in The Odyssey.
Let me tell you something.
Arguably, hasn't been said in the Iliad and the Odyssey book, nor was it said back in Greek times. I doubt it. They'd probably said it differently.
I feel like he said in an interview that they found a way to put it in there. And they actually asked him, he was on like a night show, like a talk show, and they were like, "Why do you keep saying that?" And he goes, "It's in the script." He's like, "What am I going to do?" Which is the funniest thing ever. That means it's intentional.
They write it for him.
Yeah.
People put that on him. Jesus. Anyway, move everything down. Moana at 2, Toy Story 5 at 3, Minions and Monsters at 4, and Evil Dead Burn at 5. Toy Story 5, okay, I guess I need to probably say Toy Story 5 will beat Minions and Monsters on the pure, plain, simple fact that it's not decreasing at the same rate as Minions and Monsters. So Minions and Monster actually is second this week, and Toy Story 5 is 5. That's because Toy Story 5 is in its 4th, and Minions and Monsters in its 2nd. However, based on what I'm seeing, loss over gain, 42% loss for Minions and a 37% loss for Toy Story. I think Minions will drastically increase over 50% in the next week. And then I don't think Toy Story will go much further than like 45%, which could lead the way for like it's very close, which is why I put Toy Story on top. I think it's got better legs than Minions does.
Yeah, I just think people, just to put it simply, I think people like Toy Story 5 better.
Yeah.
And so my top 5, again, Jake's was The Odyssey, Moana, Toy Story 5, Minions and Monsters, and Evil Dead Burn. And the reason I specify that and restate that is because mine's the exact same. This is the second time in I think 4 weeks that we have both picked the same, and that's not on purpose. But what's right is right, and we are in a competition, so I don't want to fall too far behind. The thing is, this is one of the few easy weeks, it feels like. Obviously, a lot can happen and a lot can surprise us. Like, again, like we didn't expect Evil Dead to fall so far down. However, this is one of those easy weeks where there's only one giant release. We don't ever really look for analytics to help us with this. We're just taking what we've seen in the past year with our predictions, with what we know the tendencies are and what we've seen from audiences in our history of doing the show. That's literally our predictions. We're betting, right? For those who are new. However, sometimes it's impossible to not see analytics just because they're embedded in stories we have to read. So, for example, The Odyssey, while it's super easy to put it at 1 because it's a Christopher Nolan, a lot of people like Variety and Deadline are reporting that there's a chance this could break Nolan's debut record. Like, people are going in droves. Like, yes, there's a lot of online backlash for some of the historical inaccuracies. However, they're saying this could break his domestic opening, which says a lot, right? I think that this film's going to dominate mainly because its competition is they're all going into at least their second, third, fourth week, with Toy Story 5 being its fifth. Of all of them, Toy Story 5 is probably the best film that it's competing against, and that's in its fifth weekend, right? This weekend. So, again, Moana will finish second simply because it earned so much this week, and it won't drop that much because there still will be an audience that wants to go see it. Toy Story 5 is not dropping that fast. Between Minions and Monsters and Toy Story 5, Toy Story is a better movie. So I think Minions will just happen to drop. They're separated by 2 million right now. Minions will drop, even if it's like 10%, 8% more, that will be enough for Toy Story to overcome and to retain third place. And then Evil Dead Burn just falls down. Like, Young Washington gets booted out. It dropped almost 70% in sales. There's nothing else that could compete. The only thing that could compete, we did just talk about it. We don't know if it's going to go to more theaters this next week. If The Invite in its fourth weekend gets a full-blown release from A24 with the hype that it has, there's a chance if it goes almost 3,000 theaters that it could jump into the top 5. There's a chance. However, there's no reports or there's nothing to indicate that it's going to have another increase in theaters. That is the only thing that could upset the top 5 right now is The Invite if it goes wider. However, with the doubt that we have with that, we're safe predicting these 5. And Jake, tell us about Claude. What does TJ have?
The same thing. We might also see, I guess, maybe an anime shoot up there. Huh?
That would be next week if it's the one we were
Oh,
talking
sorry,
about. That's next Wednesday. Well, it could, if it goes to the weekend, next weekend, we could see Evangelion, or it's pronounced both ways. It's pronounced both ways.
There's two different ones, I guess.
Yeah.
Now. There's one that's, I think they're both redos.
Yeah.
They're both just coming back out. But
re-releases.
I don't think they're going to get that. Top 10, maybe.
Yeah. I think they'll definitely hit top 10. But next week, we'll talk about that a little bit because it releases not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday. We'll talk about that next week. But yeah, like there's literally after the Odyssey, there is nothing that hits theaters next weekend. Like it is and that's on purpose. People have avoided this weekend for that reason intentionally. For example, I'm looking at films. There is what looks to be it's called Dastar, Horse Girls, The Kidnapping of Arabella. And then let's see here. That's
I heard
really
Horse Girls is going to do numbers.
My Sassy Girl releases Saturday.
Oh, that one's even.
That's it though, dude. Like that is it. And then until next weekend, which next weekend we will see not a lot actually. So we might have a very similar top 5 heading into the end of July, which we will see Spider-Man Brand New Day hit theaters. And that's all intentional. 2 weeks after the Odyssey is Spider-Man, so people are probably avoiding this late summer frame. But yeah.
Double Tom Holland.
Yeah, in a month. all Tom Holland. But anyway,
Yay.
anything else we want to tell the great people about the box office before we go into our second segment?
Not about the box office.
All right, it's done. We're leaving the box office. So coming up after the break, I don't know if you heard about it, but Letterboxd is for sale and some familiar and unfortunate names are attached. We'll talk about it right up next. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Screen. You made it to segment 2, which is always our main news segment. We break down the 1 or 2 biggest stories from this past week, give you all the information so you don't have to do the reading, and we dig through all the various opinions. We make sure you get the facts, and then we give you the links if you want to do more research. So, let's dive right in. Netflix, Paramount, Sony, Fandango, and more are in talks to potentially purchase Letterboxd. I know I said it. I know it's tragic. It's upsetting. It is the worst news you've heard all week. If you haven't heard it yet, Letterboxd has been for sale. And again, these unfortunate familiar names are attached. After months of shopping itself around, it seems that we might have our more serious suitors for the cult classic cinephile site, Letterboxd. After announcing in April that the site was up for sale, majority owner and Canadian-based company called Tiny valued the property at $50 million and is now asking for $250 million. Tiny came into possession of Letterboxd just 3 years ago in 2023, grabbing a 60% stake in the company, with co-founders Matthew Buchanan and Carl von Randau hanging on to the final 40%. So really, it's not very many ownership groups, right? It was very independent. Co-owners Buchanan and Randau hang on to the just a little bit under 50%, that 40% frame, but Tiny hosts the rest of the 60. Now, after initially putting out feelers, again, those companies are Sony, Netflix, Paramount, as well as Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian, as well as private equity firms Redbird Capital and TPG, have all agreed to early meetings to potentially acquire the company. As initially reported by Puck and sourced from IndieWire, the company was also taking meetings with media outlet The Ankler and Versant, which Versant is the spin-off company from NBC Universal that owns Fandango, Rotten Tomatoes, MS Now, CNBC, and channels like the USA Network and Sci-Fi. So you've been impacted by Versant. You just haven't known, right? If you know anything about any of those channels, if you like to watch Law and Order or whatever on USA Network, or if you watch the Sci-Fi Network, as well as Rotten Tomatoes, Fandango, and CNBC, you've dealt with Versant, and they're also interested. When discussing the potential sale back in April, a Letterboxd representative stated, quote, "As Letterboxd has grown, it's natural there will be interest in what we do next. There's nothing specific for us to share at this time. Any decision about Letterboxd's future would involve the founders." That comment comes from IndieWire. Letterboxd currently has 26 million subscribers since launching in 2011 and has grown with a dedicated social media following, which features its infamous 4 favorites segment, which they'll go up to famous people or filmmakers and say, "What's your 4 favorite movies?" You've seen it. Not to mention, they recently added an in-app rental store where there are films that aren't even released from the circuits, the film festival circuits, that you can rent for $20 a piece. They launched that earlier this year as well. Of course, any purchase from almost all of the above suitors would make most moviegoers uncomfortable, whether it be the venture capital or the conflict of interest type of ownership that a major film studio would bring when owning such a film review site. However, Variety makes some interesting points about other similar sites. Again, as Variety points out, quote, "Film rating site Rotten Tomatoes was a part of NBC Universal for years, and some critics have slammed that ownership structure as being problematic." And a quick side note for myself here before we get back to the quote. They also own Fandango. So did Universal. So there's a lot of these film sites that have been owned by major production houses before Versant spun off of NBC Universal. Going back to the quote. Meanwhile, IMDb is owned by e-commerce colossus Amazon, which I did not know IMDb was owned by Amazon. That was not on my fun facts. I did not know that.
I knew that.
Something else of note that the Dailies points out that could be reassuring for fans, because again, Variety's like, this is not abnormal, and it does impact because Rotten Tomatoes has had a history of some controversies about people getting bought for the reviews. However, something else to note that the Dailies points out, that co-founder Matthew Buchanan will reportedly have heavy say in who does and who does not get control of the site, which is a good thing because this is a guy that has seen it through since the beginning and people seem to trust him. So that is a good thing, right? So we have some questions to go through, Jake, something to consider, something to ponder. It seems like the Ellisons and Paramount are doing everything they can to infect every aspect of the movie viewing experience. While this might seem more than affordable for the family worth tens of billions, does this type of merger make sense when you take into account that they are about to absorb $80 billion in debt once Warner potentially gets approved?
I think it's all falling into place that they have the movie review site, IMDb, but LetterBoxd, and then also one of the larger movie conglomerates with Paramount and Warner potentially.
Yeah,
I feel like it's one of those things that like you would see in, I guess, politics where it's like, oh, they now have control of that.
yeah.
And it's like, yeesh. Because if you think that they would, they probably would.
Yeah.
I mean, generally that's how it works, but it is worrisome.
See, that's the thing is that,
Who
like,
would you
again,
rather have?
well,
I guess that's your right?
we will get into that. Do you want to ask that question now, or do you want?
Oh.
So, I will answer that, but before I do that, that does make a lot of sense. Just because the easiest way to ensure that your ratings are a little bit more bloated, because people are going to say it's bad or they're going to say it's good regardless, is to own the site that the majority of cinephiles and people who genuinely want to have opinions about film, the one that they go to. Right now, would people? If it's at 26 million, I'd say a good hunk of that, maybe let's say 10 million, drop out because they're mad, right? Then it would slowly climb back up. So it'd be like down to 16.
I don't think it'd be that much.
I think it would. I think it would drop down to 16 and then go back up to like 22, like in the next year after that. So it's like they're still going to have an audience as long as they don't mess up the app. However, I don't know. Like it's as sleazy as it sounds. I don't like Paramount simply because it's the Ellisons and they're trying to own everything. If you ask the question, who do I want? If it has to be sold,
who
would I want it to go to?
Ryan, if it was sold, who would you want it to go to?
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Jake, for that question. I haven't really thought about it. I actually have two answers. I have two options. I low-key think Versant would be a fine purchase just because it's the smallest of all of them, right? Like they're not of all of its competition. It's the smallest of them all. It's the least likely to want to influence its audience base based upon bias because they're not producing movies, right? Like they're news, they're television shows, and they have film review sites. Like, again, and like film, like streamers. So like Fandango and Rotten Tomatoes, which is it makes sense, right? You already own those two film sites. Adding LetterBoxd makes sense. And it makes a lot of sense for Versant because they're trying to find another avenue to be competitive after spinning off from NBC Universal. They already have that, again, back in their back pocket. They already have the avenue of like integration with film in that genre. So people and audiences already understand and have that establishment of that ownership, right, in that genre, with Versant owning Fandango and Rotten Tomatoes. But again, I feel like Versant, I guess one of the biggest issues I should say with the current ownership is they've not really done a lot to market LetterBoxd outside of their own social media, right? There's a lot of things they could be doing to make more money, whether it's advertisements, whether it's like fulfilling the promises they've made. They've had a promise of a TV show reviewing like side of the platform for years, and it's never happened, right? Because they've been focusing on the bigger stuff, which I understand. But if a company like Versant takes advantage of that, them having more resources than Tiny and the current owners, right? With, again, already having avenues built in with this, already having an audience on top of an audience that would respect that more than some of the others, Versant makes the most sense to me if Buchanan, if other co-founders, and if Tiny go that route, which would mean less money, however, right? Obviously, Paramount doesn't make a lot of sense. The other one that does for me, simply because he has a site that people hate, but it is successful, is the Reddit owner. I think that oddly it makes sense, dude. Think about like LetterBoxd is if you add the same type of message boards or Reddit boards, you know what I'm saying, as like in a similar style of conversation starter in Reddit to LetterBoxd, you're telling me that would not kill? Imagine if you could integrate your letterbox, like your watch lists, into Reddit. Like they're already integrated together. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, think about that as conversation starters.
It's a wet dream for Redditors and movie critics alike.
But imagine like you're a person trying to make not a living, but like you're a writer on Reddit or you want to be a personality on Reddit. And if anyone goes to your profile, they can see your 4 favorite films from Letterboxd, like under your profile because your accounts are connected. You know, you can attach Reddit threads into Letterboxd and have conversations in Letterboxd. You know, like that's interesting. That is a level of continuity that does make sense. And the fact that Reddit has been as successful as it has been as a social media site, that is another reason why I'm like, okay, Letterboxd needs to take the next jump into being a successful site to remain independent. And even if it's owned by Reddit, that is better than the alternative, just like Versant is. Versant makes more sense because it's so independent and because of, again, of it already having established a cinema side. But Reddit also makes sense because of the cool things you can add to it. Like with what they already have.
They got video games now in Reddit.
Yeah. Like I just think that marriage makes more sense. It doesn't make as much sense as Versant, but it does make more sense than the rest of them, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I don't really leave you a lot of room to answer that question other than to agree with one of the two I said or to give me one of the other major studios. I don't remember
being asked a question. But
I'm going to ask a question. Where do you think it should go? If it does have to go, Jake.
I probably lean the same way where I'm saying Versant is like ideally business-wise, like that would be probably the better one to take it because they have Rotten Tomatoes and Fandango. Like I could just see it fitting. Now I worry, like, is Rotten Tomatoes and Letterboxd, like, are they going to try and do a merger there? Because it's technically cannibalizing the same like group of people. Because I would assume you have to, there's probably some kind of subscription or like money route through Rotten Tomatoes, either to be
you get it verified.
I mean, yeah, okay. So and then Letterboxd, there's a subscription outside of the rental side.
You can go pro. Yeah, you can go Letterboxd Pro.
So it's kind of like, why am I going to pay for both? I guess, or maybe it is a second stream. I don't know. I don't know what they would do besides like combine them or leave them separate, whichever. But Reddit is more of like the wild card that like I have no idea what Reddit would do with it besides, I guess, integrate it in a way where it's like an emulation of, so you can go to Letterboxd like website and they have an app or whatever, but if you're in Reddit, there's also like a Letterboxd section that kind of emulates Letterboxd itself within Reddit. I could see that happening, but I think Reddit's kind of like the I don't know, it is a wild card. I don't know what they would do with it, but so it's intriguing. Now, who has more money? Who's willing to fork over more for this kind of deal? And I would assume it's Versant that would want it more than Reddit.
Yeah. So this is what I will say to go, because that's a good point I didn't think about, is the cannibalizing of the same audience. However, what I will say is Rotten Tomatoes is really for your kind of average everyday Joe to see what the reviews are. But people who use the app are more critics, are more actual critics. Whereas Letterboxd is more general audiences, right? Is more not, I don't want to say wannabe critics, but people who don't want the label of a critic who like watching movies, right? Like that's an easier route to go.
It's your insufferable movie buff friend who's like, check my Letterboxd.
Yes. And so I think that that's enough of a distinction that they can coexist in a way that makes sense. And going even further, because I did look up, because I was curious, could you, like, does it pay to try to get on the tomato meter, which is the critic side, or like to be on the popcorn meter? And the answer seems to be no. You don't have to pay. You just have to apply, which is a lot more than what a lot of people will want to do. You know, and the popcorn meter, I think, is just for general audiences anyway. But again, Rotten Tomatoes will never have the level of integration and just level of involvement that Letterboxd does. So I don't think they have to be an alternative to each other. I think they can be a place where two different types of cinephiles and moviegoers can watch. Whereas Rotten Tomatoes has the popcorn meter. I would much rather trust Letterboxd with what that audience reviews it in 1 through 5. And then I would trust the critics more in Rotten Tomatoes, because that's where they're supposed to be. So I do think in Versant they can coexist. Also, Jake, I do want you to know, it does ask, how do I become a Tomato Meter approved? And one of they have values: insight, audience, quality, and dedication. While we don't have all of these just yet, dedication, their literal example is podcasters producing multiple episodes per month.
So we're basically halfway verified.
We are very close. There's only a few things we would have to do in order to get approved we just would have to regularly like watch and like.
All right. Well, while you're doing the quick hits, I'm going to get us verified.
Yeah, there is a legit chance that like in a few short steps we could be Tomato Meter approved for films, which would be pretty fun. Actually, that'd be a nice little notch in our hat. Wouldn't that be for podcasters talking about movies? We'll think about it. We'll look into that, just so you know. For those watching, if you're watching in the future, and if we're approved and we're talking about how we're approved and giving you our opinions, just know this is the genesis of that.
Right.
I'm wanting you to know right now. You're watching history right now, guys. You're watching history. Anyway, our next question, while Jake does the research. I can actually send you the link right now to this, Jake, so you can see what I'm seeing.
I'm on the criteria page.
Oh, you found the criteria. Okay, never mind.
I'm just trying to figure out if I need to sign in as a podcast or how the account stuff works. Anyway, move on. That's for future us.
That's for us. Like, you know, when you're watching a show and they're like, yeah, we did that off camera. We did that between the episodes. That's us right now. Like
we're going to mine off camera. Minecraft callback.
You're going to come back and we're going to be like, we're going to have all types of Rotten Tomato gear on. We're going to be like, so we got approved.
But basically, they loved us.
Yeah, they thought we were the best thing they've ever seen. But I love the idea too that someone in Rotten Tomatoes HQ is just like, wouldn't this be the funniest thing if they were like approved? And it's just this us two like just two random dudes. That's actually hilarious. Anyway,
Ryan's head is looking a little bare. Rotten Tomatoes. We're thinking that he needs.
I need a new hat. I need a new hat.
It's a hat.
Send me the tomato hat. I need it, but only if you approve us. I will wear it. We won't say we're sponsored because we're not sponsored by you guys yet. You should do that. However,
if you are somehow sister companies, I'd like a LetterBoxd hat.
A sister company. Anyway, let's move on.
If your parent company buys LetterBoxd, can you put in a good word with them for Rotten Tomato, mind you?
It cannot be Paramount because we have talked so bad about them, we'd never see the light of day. They would just ban us from LetterBoxd to begin with. They'd be like, gone. Gone. Anyway, all right, let's move on to the next question. We were talking about Paramount. The initial question was about Paramount and them being able to take and absorb the $80 billion. It doesn't make sense to me because of their whole point is to get you into theaters. To some extent, just because it's in the same industry. For me, they don't need any more debt. They don't need to pay another $250 million, even if it is pennies on the dollar for them. They need, I just don't think for them as a business decision, nor in what they want people to do. They don't want people to stay at home and review. They want people to go watch. Whether they review is kind of up to, they don't really care because the people are going to review regardless, right? So for them, it makes more sense for them to put money on their films. Netflix, in a similar boat, has come across as almost desperate since losing out on Warner, talking about, and remember, they were potentially going to buy Lionsgate not long ago, and that could still be up for grabs, but now they're in LetterBoxd. They're talking about that. What would a purchase of LetterBoxd do for Netflix?
I think that they would they'd integrate it too. I would assume with their video game efforts and trying to do more stuff with their apps, I would see LetterBoxd actually making its way into Netflix on Roku and within the Netflix app, and it's like a tab. I would say I think that's what they would do with it.
Yeah.
And be able to. It's going to suck to type out a review, but star it and it's connected to your account, which honestly, I mean, pretty sweet to be fair.
See,
at least all the stuff on Netflix, but
your point exactly is how I feel. Where Paramount doesn't seem to make sense from a financial and from what they want audience, their call to action doesn't make sense with that item, right? With Netflix, that wants to. Someone made a great point, and I wish I had their username from Instagram. I sent it into our chat, our Beyond the Screen chat, to remember, but I don't remember the guy's name. But
he doesn't. So,
but no, I remember what he said. I don't remember what his name was. But he made the point: Netflix is out to make itself as addictive as possible. They don't want you to leave the house. They have been outspoken against going to the theaters because they want you to be in the app as much as possible. They've added games, they've added podcasts.
When'd you send it? Sorry.
Anime. It's in the chat from a few days ago.
Days.
However, for them, it makes sense because, again, once you integrate that, imagine the movies that are on Netflix. Because on Letterboxd, you have like top 50 films of all time. People are making these rankings, or they're making these lists. Imagine you have your ranking from like films that are on Netflix, and you could just find that and just pick from that list, right? It makes a lot of sense. If you review a film, if they integrate Letterboxd into Netflix after you watch a film, you just hit 1 out of 5 stars, and you have to go to the app later to write your review, but it immediately hits your profile as a watched film. That makes a lot of sense. And again, in terms of an app trying to make itself more addicting and how the integration would work, it fits a lot like how I see Reddit or Versant making sense, right? Like those two make a lot of sense. And going back to I don't mean to, just as I'm thinking integration, going back to Rotten Tomatoes, if they did want to integrate them somehow, you do away with the popcorn meter and you do the Letterboxd review beside. Instead of the popcorn meter, you have the critics or the tomato meter, and the Letterboxd review is the popcorn meter. It's just like Letterboxd, you essentially, instead of, again, they're not going to cannibalize each other because of the audiences I laid out earlier. You completely cut out the popcorn meter and you say, hey, review, if you're an audience member, review it on Letterboxd, and if you're a critic, review it on Rotten Tomatoes. And that is how you keep both of them safe. You know, that's how you keep both of them safe. And that makes sense for Versant. Going back to Netflix, that integration makes a lot of sense because you can already review films in Netflix. You just take out the Netflix independent review system. You put in a Letterboxd, connect your account if you want to. If you don't connect your account, obviously it's the same star system that you've been doing. However, or I guess it's a thumbs up. However, if you do connect your account, not only can you watch films that are like recommended to you from Letterboxd or in the lists that you can create on Letterboxd if they're on Netflix, but you can also, the second you review it, you give it 1 out of however many stars or however many whatevers. That because Netflix might change, it's out of 5, but Netflix might change whatever that is. And then it just goes to your account. You don't even have to leave Netflix, right? And then Netflix would add in the show integration with like reviewing TV shows and all that very quickly. And then all of a sudden Letterboxd would have ads, and then all of a sudden yada, yada, yada. So then Letterboxd would be profitable. But yeah, I think of all of the major ones, Sony would be interesting just because Sony doesn't really have any, like, what does Sony have that it could integrate it into? Like, in my mind, Letterboxd would just be itself if it was with Sony. You know?
Because they don't have anything, right?
I don't think they own a streamer.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Looks
they're
like
not they're not involved with any streamer anyway, is what I should say.
Maybe.
Well, they sell each independent like title to various to
primarily Netflix newest movies, older Prime and Hulu.
See, but that makes sense. That's just the deal they have. They're not tied to them outside of that specific time frame, right? So it makes sense because they're kind of in the middle of everybody. Like Sony would probably be the one that would be the safest of the big ones, but of all of them, the one that makes the most sense with integration would be Netflix. But I do have one more question for you. Of all the companies that have said they're interested, what is the one company that you're surprised is not involved in this?
Let's see.
I have an answer.
Amazon.
That's it. Amazon owns IMDb, and just like how you can integrate Rotten Tomatoes with Letterboxd or combine them in some way, or the same thing with Reddit, IMDb would be another place for that to go easy. You know, like Letterboxd and IMDb would mesh well. They would mesh very well. In the same way you do Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb could have its critic reviews. Instead of an audience review, you have the Letterboxd reviews as like the official audience score. If it does get sold to any of these major ones, especially Versant, like Post Track and like the cinema score with Post Track they could be in serious trouble because most people I think would want to go to Letterboxd or Rotten Tomatoes versus the other. Same thing with IMDb. This I'm shocked Amazon as easy as it seems like a just a softball pitch, dude. Like just an easy, I mean, not the game softball, like you threw it softly, I should specify, because softball, if you ever tried to hit a softball thrown by a softball pitcher, it's hard. I want to put that out there. I'm not trying to be degrading. I mean, a lob, like an easy throw, a soft pitch. It's an easy hit for Amazon if they were to pull the trigger on this or if they would fight for it. Now, would the owners of Letterboxd let that happen? Who knows? But that's the one company that I'm surprised is not involved in this. just because they already own similar titles.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the review system for Amazon being because Amazon's based on reviews. I mean, everybody goes to Amazon and sees the review counter, and it's like, oh, that's bestseller or best viewed or last view. I don't, all the different tags that they add on there. So, I could see that like being integrated with their streamer.
Oh yeah, throw it into Prime Video in the same way you would Netflix. The thing is, though, this is another thing. Let's say it doesn't sell or it goes to Versant or Reddit. Everything we're saying could happen in a partnership. Say Versant is like, look, we want Letterboxd to be the official review place for people. If we split the proceeds somehow with whatever, right? That what we've earned, what we generate from sponsors, whatever, and you change your rating system, Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, whatever, to the Letterboxd review, so they're all the same across the industry and everyone sees Letterboxd, they're making bank. And it's without those companies owning Letterboxd. So hopefully the right thing is done. And to be honest with you, just like with Warner, you don't need to. If you have better business practices, you would be fine. You do not have to do this, but they're going to do it because it's a quick and easy payday. But hopefully it goes to the right person or people, Versant or Reddit. I know that's odd to say Reddit. I know there's probably a lot of detractors. There's probably something I'm not knowing about why it would be terrible with Reddit. However, it'd be better than other places. And once it goes to one of those two things, hopefully they can actually do something with it that would make it not just the 26 million subscriber base, not just this fun thing on social media, but something that genuinely has a presence and can withstand another purchase from another big body, because that's where we're at right now. We're in the M&A just apocalypse right now, and it needs to be making enough money that you don't want to sell it. And hopefully that happens with whoever buys it. And please don't let it be Paramount or Netflix. Don't let that happen. Anyway. Jake, any final thoughts before we move on to our third segment?
I got none. Kind of crazy that everything's selling this year. Guys, we're not in a recession.
And with that, we're going to move on to our...
This is a movie podcast.
Yeah. With
not a finance podcast.
We're going to move on to our third segment, which is always what you should know before you go. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Screen. You made it to segment 3, which is always our quick hits segment. So I usually take this time to tell the people at home that we're so thankful for you, and especially with a week that we had last week with our uptick in viewership. I do want to do that. So just thank you for being here and for allowing us all to do this and just to be a part of your daily lives or your weekly lives. We have so much fun doing this and just chit-chatting and hanging out. Like, that's what we do. Like, it's crazy that this is our hobby and we just get to read the things we were going to read anyway and talk about the things we were going to talk about anyway, but do it in a creative outlet that allows us to get the juices flowing and to get that out of our systems, to be creative, but to meet new people and to have new interesting conversations and to have fun. So the fact that you allow us to do this is a big deal for everybody involved. But speaking of everybody involved, we do have a special announcement, and we're going to go ahead and announce it now at the beginning of our third segment. We have some sad news. This is the last episode that our amazing director, Emily Keller, will be a part of, as she is moving on to greener pastures. She has an amazing opportunity, and sadly, that means that we will no longer be able to partake in our weekly episode with Emily. So, Emily, do you want to come forward and share a little bit about what's going on and to kind of like say how you feel and just tell the audience what you're thinking?
I am so sad. Thank you. I'm kidding. Yeah, I got this amazing opportunity to go to Colorado, back to where I worked seasonally a few years back. And there's some parts of the job that I'll be able to there's tasks in the job that still align with my degree field. And that's something I felt like I couldn't pass up, but that also means that I'm thankful in the sense that because of my current job, has to do with social media, and I'm thankful that I can now let go of social media, which means that I probably like most of my job here, other than directing, is to get videos and stuff together for social media, along with our lovely Rosie, who also helps out. But that would mean I have to let go of the podcast as well. And that actually breaks my heart, because now I've been doing this for like 14 months. So like a year and like 2 months now with Ryan and Jake, and I love them so much, and they're so much fun, and it's like the highlight of my Monday, sometimes the highlight of my week. And I'm able to, you guys don't know this, but Jake and I like go back and forth in like the private message, like in the group chat, in the StreamYard where we host the show, and we make fun of Ryan sometimes, and Ryan can definitely see them, but he doesn't say anything about it. But it's like my most favorite thing. We gap beforehand, we gap afterward. If you talk about Facebook Marketplace finds, it's just like so much fun. And I have to sacrifice that, which is like absolutely heartbreaking. That's a really, really hard decision, and I wish them the best. And hopefully we get more viewers and engagement, and they can soar where they need to soar. And I know they have what it takes, and I want to see them get what they deserve, which is recognition and success, because they've really worked their butts off for this podcast, and I want to see them succeed in that. So I'm disappointed I can't be a part of that, but I'm really thankful for this opportunity. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. And I'm so sorry.
No need to apologize. Thank you so much, Emily, for being here. Sorry, hold on. We have a little bit of an echo. I muted you just for a second, Emily. We had a little bit of an echo. Thank you so much for being here and for being a part of our show. The things that you have done for us in the last 14 months has helped lay the groundwork for us to be successful, being behind the scenes, helping us absolutely kill with our viewership in terms of adding the graphics and being on top of everything, including helping us with the socials. The show does not grow to where it is and have the jumping pad to go where it's going to go without the work you've done. So, alas, is the way of life. Things have to come to an end, but that doesn't mean that we won't look back fondly on those moments, and it doesn't mean that it won't continue to impact us moving forward. So, just like a baby bird cracking from its egg, it has to leave the nest at some point. And so, we say goodbye to our lovely Emily in what has been a fun year and 2 months. And so, but yeah, you're going to go on and do great things. And this doesn't mean this is the last time we'll see you on Beyond the Screen. This just means, yeah, most definitely not. This just means this will be the end of the regular weeks. So we look forward to the next time we see you. And with that out of the way, I think we should go ahead and for the house, all around, let's do one last segment with Emily, that being our quick hits segment. And let's end today's episode. So thank you so much, Emily. And let's do this thing, fellas, as a crew one last time. What you should know before you go. You ready, Jake?
I'm ready.
All righty.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. Evil Dead Burn director Sebastian Vanacek. You thought we were done talking about Evil Dead about an hour ago? It's back. The man has expressed interest via a Reddit AMA that he'd love to create a darker The Mask adaptation. Also, we're still talking about Reddit. It's weird how things come around. While this might seem random, going back to Vanacek wanting to create a darker Mask adaptation, the original 1994 slapstick comedy starring Jim Carrey was first conceived as a darker horror, more in tune with the original comics the film is based upon. In fact, the Mask 1994 director, Chuck Russell, was originally brought on board due to his history in the genre, having directed A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and The Blob. According to horror outlet Bloody Disgusting, Russell described the journey from horror to slapstick back in 2017, stating, quote, "It's a great example of really fighting for your vision in a film. We changed it from a horror film into a comedy. It was originally conceived as being a horror film. That was a real battle. New Line wanted a kind of Freddy movie. I had seen the same original Mask comic they ended up buying, and I thought, that's really cool, but it's too derivative of Freddy Krueger. He would put on the mask and kill people and have one-liners. It was really cool, splatterpunk black and white comic." Which brings us back to Vanacek, okay? So after Bloody Disgusting reported on Vanacek and talked more about Russell wanting to have done a horror originally, Vanacek, who on Reddit described his reading of this original comic run as the reason behind his desire. So he went back to the original comic. Something else that Russell described too is that since the movie came out in 1994, they came up with more Mask comics that were more in line with the Jim Carrey version. But the original black and white comic is what's inspiring Vanacek to want to recreate the Mask in all of its glory of what it was originally branded as. On the heels of another Freddy-type character, I jumped something. So, Jake, would we get excited for a Mask reboot in its original context?
Yeah, I think there's a realm in which people absolutely want to get in line for this. I think if you bring in new everything and try to distance yourself as much from Jim Carrey as you can, I think that it would be a success.
Yeah.
It's going to be a level of like a backrooms kind of deal. I think it'll be different. It'll be crazy different enough that people want to go see it.
Yeah. I think that exactly that point, like it's so different that it feels original still. And it's back to the kind of the roots of what the concept was. What's funny about this is, so I grew up watching The Mask because I had a big Jim Carrey family. Like my dad loves Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. So there were a lot of other Jim Carrey types. Like I grew up watching The Grinch. So like he was one of the heroes. Like Jim Carrey, Robin Williams were like two of the heroes of our household, right? So I watched The Mask a lot. And it's funny because I had no idea that it was originally conceived as a horror film. But when I look back, there are parts of the Jim Carrey movie that definitely are horror coded. Like when he first is about to put on the mask before he goes all Looney Tunes, like the room is dark and desolate and there's lightning in the back and he's looking down at this mask. And the second that he puts the mask on his face, what happens? He struggles to breathe. He fights with it. He's jumping over. He's screaming to the sky. As a kid, that's spooky. You know, like that's a little freaky. So you can see where there are little elements, right? Where it is scary. But imagine on top of it, this is a sociopathic demigod that's in control of a man that can do anything. The splatterpunk makes sense. And I think that is like, it's fun to see the roots still kind of poke through, or the original concept still poke through, even in the 1994 film. I would not mind. But you know who it's going to be? I tell you what, this is going to happen because Vanacek also did Infestation, I think is what the film was called. Let me actually look it up. He did the one where it was the spider. That's how he got this film was hold on, Sebastian Vanacek. Let me make sure. It is called Infested. And it's a 2023 horror film that made the rounds on Shudder. But there's these giant spiders I guess they're like normal spiders, but they reproduce, become bigger and bigger, a chillingly effective creature feature with more on its mind than simply creepy crawlies. Very effective. And this film is actually what got him Evil Dead, right? This is a guy that can do the creepy. This is a guy that can do the horror. This is a guy that's popular in this industry already, on that side of the industry anyway. He's going to get greenlit, right? He's probably going to get brought on because he's made a couple of really successful horror films, and they're going to bring in old Skarsgård that plays Pennywise. He's going to be paint his face green and let him go crazy. That's what's going to happen. And to be honest, I don't hate it.
That would be pretty good.
I think he could do it very effectively. And it'd be very scary.
Or they could bring in Jacob Elordi.
Can you imagine that chiseled chin going, "I'm gonna kill you"? Yeah, Emily Booze in the back.
Or Tom Holland.
Oh, yes, of course, Tom Holland. I don't know. I'm trying to think of who else would have like a creepy smile that could portray that character.
Hiddleston.
No. I think Keoghan might be able to pull it off, but he's not. I don't think he's he's not unhinged. I think Skarsgård can go unhinged. I don't know. I'd have to look through potential casting or like go through actors, because off the top of my head, outside of Skarsgård, I can't really think of a few. I'm sure there are a lot. If you have any that you'd cast, comment down below. We'd love to come back to this next week and talk about some of the more interesting names. But yeah, interesting. I thought it was really fun. This story from Bloody Disgusting, which is a horror outlet. I don't know if I said it before. Go there to get your horror film news. They're fun. But anyway, moving on. This is what I almost jumped to because we were talking about a little bit of a Freddy Krueger type of character. This just dropped today. On the heels of another Freddy type of character, a brand new Nightmare on Elm Street is reportedly in the works at Paramount, with the company's horror banner named Paramount Primal, which also produced Barbarian, and the Wes Craven estate. So the Wes Craven estate, Wes Craven originally conceived the idea back in the 80s. He has since passed, so his estate is on board helping produce this film with the same production team production company behind Barbarian. I know, Jake, you're not really a horror guy. You excited about the potential of
Not
another
a
Nightmare on Elm Street?
lick. I'm not excited at all.
Yeah. You know, on one hand, I do look forward to seeing how they can come back from the awful 2010 version, which I don't think the actor that played what was his name? That played Freddy in that one was bad. I don't think he was bad at all. However, the story was not great. It was Jackie Earle Haley played Freddy Krueger in that one. I think he did a decent job. It's just the story wasn't great and it made no sense. And so I would like to see them bounce back. But on the other hand, Paramount's not learning the lesson from around the industry that Evil Dead's learning right now, that these legacy franchises are not really doing hot because original horrors are taking the cake. So will this film come out at a time when maybe it starts to bend back a little bit towards the legacy brands? Will people be excited? I don't know. That's kind of my question, is like, where will we be in a year and a half, 2 years after the film's production and after marketing? Will there be an audience for it? I think there's enough people who are a little bit older that will want to see this again, but it's not going to have Robert Englund. It's not going to have England. It's not going to have, obviously, Wes Craven's past. So, like, what are you going to do? So I'm interested to see. It could go either way. I think we're probably leaning with recency bias says it probably won't perform well, but interesting either way. Moving on. After rumors swirled that the legendary Patrick Stewart would be retiring after reprising his role as Professor X in this winter's Avengers Doomsday, Stewart himself would speak with TV Insider to dismiss the report, stating, quote, "As any actor my age will tell you, there are fewer and fewer available roles as we get older. That being said, I still continue to receive interesting offers, and I love being challenged by new work, like voicing a pig's head in Riz Ahmed's brilliant new series, Bait. I can't imagine ever officially retiring. I'll always and forever be an actor," which is just so Patrick Stewart. He's 86 years old. I love him so much. Who doesn't love Patrick Stewart? But I will say, to go to TV Insider is the most old people thing ever. I'm gonna go to
Come
TV,
on, man.
I'm gonna go to TV Insider to give my scoop. Very old, but
look, all right. There's some heritage here with this podcast and Patrick Stewart.
oh my gosh, I remember exactly what you're talking about.
And isn't he gay?
So for those who don't know, this show has jumped many networks, and I recommend you guys go back. Quick history lesson. The show used to be on what was called the Eastern Progress Media Network, which was a student publication from the university me and Jake went to. And Jake was guest starring before he was a co-host. Me and an original co-host named Cole. Love Cole. Cole's a fantastic host. He was fun to be with. We were talking about Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart. This was like 4 years ago. And
All back.
Cole, in earnest, and you got to understand, this is Cole's personality. He is the funniest man you'll ever meet. But he does random things. And he looks at me after I say whatever story it was. And he goes, "Aren't they gay together?" And I was like, "No, actually not. Ian McKellen is gay, but Patrick Stewart, I'm pretty sure, is married to a woman." Like Jake, in his sarcastic way, is over there typing away at his computer, and he just goes up and he turns his laptop around on camera, by the way, and it's just them two kissing on a red carpet. Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen sharing a smooch, and which is like not a big deal. Like, it's really not. Like, it was a bit. It was literally just for the pictures. But all three of us went, "Oh!" Like, we all just started yelling and pointing and like no way! Just the comedy of that moment, the comedic timing was just so perfect. So that is the history of Professor X or Patrick Stewart as on Beyond the Screen. Fun times. Go back and watch. Go back. It's so old. All the news on there.
I'll never let Patrick Stewart live it down.
No.
If there's anywhere that remembers him kissing Ian McKellen, it's this podcast.
We're gonna talk about it every time. Every time. He's 86 years old. He's got more roles on the horizon, and anytime he's cast, we're gonna be like, "Remember that time?"
When he passes away,
don't say that.
Bring it
That's
back
so
up.
sad.
I'm gonna bring it back up.
So
same
sad.
for Ian. Same for any time X-Men gets brought up. Actually,
I don't like how old either of them are, because they're like,
they're getting up there.
They're just such good people. But anyway, we'll move on. But yeah, good for Patrick Stewart. I love that he has that young vigor, like in his heart, to still want to attack these roles and to be cast. And it's just the day that he stops acting will be a very dark day for the industry and just for storytelling as a whole. But anyway, we'll go ahead and move on. Jake, I'm curious your thoughts on this one, because this one caught my eye. Meta quietly rolled out a new AI feature named Muse this past week, in which users could create AI images based on their and other profiles' imagery. Seems like whatever. The only issue, they auto-opted every public Instagram account into the app or into the feature without the knowledge of the users. They didn't tell anybody. They just said, oh, if you're public, you can now have your pictures used by AI by other accounts. Following the immediate backlash, because Deadline, Culture Crave, all these accounts very quickly discovered this and sent out articles saying how to deactivate it, the feature was swiftly deactivated by Meta with a quote stating this feature missed the mark.
Yeah, no, duh.
My only thought because like you not telling people, because all they want to do is feed their algorithms. They want it to make Instagram type of content, like regular profile pictures and pictures at a higher level. They wanted to feed their algorithms. Don't get it twisted. That's why they did it. They have their own means. They're not trying to roll out something cool. They wanted their AI to easier and better create Instagram type of content, like without us knowing or without us being able to tell. But for me, imagine you have like someone who is a bit into you too much and they use that to create your imagery doing things not nice or with you in a weird way. You know, like that. It is so unsafe. It is so not kosher that the only people that would approve that are the most out of touch and the most selfish. Jake said, yeah, there he is.
I think they believe that if it's on their app, they own it. And there's like part of the company that's like, yes, but no.
You sign the
Not how
terms and
that
conditions. I can hear it now, a lawyer now. You sign the terms and conditions. But the thing is, the other half of it too is that like there's a part, I feel like there might be a part of like the audience that's like, well, they probably feel like they can protect you. They don't care. They don't care. So it really is just to feed their algorithm, their AI, so that it can better create content like what you would post. Yeah. Anyway, we'll go ahead and move on. We're continuing with AI. An AI Gene Wilder will reportedly voice his iconic Willy Wonka in Netflix's upcoming reality game show titled Wonka's the Golden Ticket. While Wilder might have died in 2016, his estate gave the streamer the go-ahead to use the late legend's iconic voice.
Okay.
This one's a little bit tougher because the estate, his wife, gave them the approval, but it's one of those things where it's like, can you let the man rest? Can we stop making money off of his name, off of his voice? You know, like he died of Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. Like, let the man rest, you know? But it's another one of those things. It's like, you know, at least they got approval from his estate. Like, that's cool. And it's like, it is cool on another hand. And Jake, I'm sorry, I know I'm just yapping and I want you to have as much airtime too. It's cool that a new age will get to hear his voice because he is the Willy Wonka. I know Johnny Depp did it for a while and then Tim Chalamet did a weird one. But Wilder is Wonka, right? So it's cool that he's getting reintroduced to younger audiences, but I'm just curious your thoughts.
I grew up with Depp and I had to like go back and watch Wilder's version. Depp will always have that like place because that's what I remember. When I think of Willy Wonka, I think of Depp. Believe it or not.
He did a great job, but that's kind of sad because Gene Wilder was so freaking good.
Yeah, which the Gene Wilder version was like far more like evil and sinister, I think, arguably. But I don't know. Reality game shows, kind of Netflix. I don't know what it could be. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but it kind of makes me wonder, raise my eyebrow, like, is that really what we're going to use his voice for? I mean, come on.
Let's be so for
Let's
real.
get another Blazing Saddles.
I'd
rather see that.
Gene Wilder is also in Young Frankenstein, I believe, which, let me double check. One of the funniest. Hold on, let me double check. It's not.
Daddy's double checking.
There's so many movies. Young Frankenstein. For some reason, when I said that, I was like, or is it Victor? No, it's Young. One of the funniest movies. Like, it's 1974. It is, and he is so good in that. It is so funny, dude. So go back and watch Young Frankenstein. It's a horror comedy. But he's obviously most notable for playing Wonka in Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That one's such a better movie. Like I hate to say, like I know Depp did a good job, but they changed the character so much because they wanted him to be more lovable. Whereas he was harder to forgive because he is he's a complex character in the original. Like he's purposefully hurting these children and he's testing these kids for what reason other than to say that he wants to retire. So he's just putting these kids through trials to see if they're mentally strong enough. And it's like, it is
average
pretty
boomer experience.
It is pretty, it's pretty sadistic. And you can't but what's cool is just how complex he is, right? Like the whimsy. I love the dichotomy of the whimsy on screen versus the real goal of Wonka, which it works out for Charlie because he gets, he gets the company and he gets to grow up wealthy. Yeah, he is humble and he gets to come out of the slums and, earn money and be wealthy instantly. But it is like, he is so good in that movie he's so good at just being complex characters. So please go watch Gene Wilder's filmography, dude. And again, I love that this is giving him more of a spotlight, which is the positives of something like this. But it is kind of one of those things where it's like, can you not let the man rest? Like he's dead, like it's just, it's one of those things where it's just like, it just feels like corporate greed has no end, where it's like, oh, we're going to make money off of his voice even though he's gone. It's just something that doesn't sit right with me. But anyway, we have 2 more stories here we're going to quickly get through. Sherlock co-creator Stephen Moffat recently provided an update for a potential season 5 of the popular BBC show. While speaking on the Half the Picture pod, Moffat would explain, quote, "If I can persuade everybody else, of course I'd revisit. We were conscious that we were doing the beginning of the story, so I'd quite like to see them as they're more middle-aged, settled versions. I don't think it's used up. Something to keep in mind is the series co-creator Mark Gatiss explained just last year that stars Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman didn't want to do anymore." So I don't know if you've seen Sherlock. I don't know if you like Sherlock. I think it's the best adaptation of the books ever. Mm-hmm. And Moffat,
that's who I think of when you say Sherlock. It's Benedict.
Yeah.
That TV show. And
this was like prime Stephen Moffat. Like this was like, he literally was doing Doctor Who, show running Doctor Who in one of its most prime eras with Matt Smith and then eventually Capaldi while doing that. So this man was on a hot streak. It would be really cool to see them come back. It would be really, just finish the story. But the thing is, what's so tough?
Yeah.
Both have moved on to greener pastures. Like I feel like they'd probably be losing money to go back to the BBC and try to pick up the mantle again.
Yeah, they'd have to take a pay cut, for show.
What is Martin Freeman up to right now? It's obvious. It's easy to say Benedict Cumberbatch because, obviously. He was in that's right. He was in Miller's Girl. He was that creepy old man with Jenna Ortega. Like, I think he was a professor. Yeah. They were drawn into a complex entanglement due to a writing assignment. Ugh. That's one way to write it. Yeah, that's the last thing he was in, according to... He also was in Fargo that ended in 2024. I'm looking for something more recent, but that seems to be kind of the last thing he's been doing. But still, the guy's very popular, so he will find a spot. Like he if he's not doing something now, he's going to be doing something in the very near future. So I'm surprised, especially Martin Freeman. Martin Freeman has been the one that's been like very outspoken about not wanting to do more, which is odd because it feels like he's the one that should be more convincible because he's not in the shoes of Benedict Cumberbatch. He was in Black Panther, but that character hasn't come around in a long time. And so it's just like, what are you going to do?
Do you think it's because he doesn't want to be side to Benedict?
I feel like he doesn't want to be typecast. Because I will say, around the same time that he was doing Sherlock, he was also doing The Hobbit. So he was like Bilbo and Watson and like I feel like there's a level of typecast that can go on when you're those types of roles. And that's probably what he wants to distance himself from, like playing this morally complex professor sleeping with someone half his or younger than him. Like that's a way to kind of like deviate from your typecast.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd rather do that. I'm like,
brother,
okay.
You'd rather what? You could either be one of the most iconic side characters of all time and be universally loved forever, or you can act like you're sleeping with Jenna Ortega. That's the options
I
here.
don't get the hype.
That's so funny, dude. Listen, I'm not the one for that, but I'll tell you, I don't.
You missed me
Anyway,
on both accounts.
right. Jake would not want to get typecast as a side character, nor the other alternative. Anyway, we'll move on. We could go down a weird rabbit
Anything
hole.
Jenna Ortega related.
I'm moving on. According to Discussing Film, which if you don't know Discussing Film, follow them. They are great, especially on X and Instagram for film news very quickly. And The Hollywood Reporter. Paramount is reportedly considering a relocation out of California if the state and Attorney General Rob Bonta decide to sue over the Warner Brothers takeover. When I wrote that was yesterday. Guess what happened today?
They moved.
No, the lawsuit happened.
Oh.
California and 11 other states filed their lawsuit against the merger. Then, like less than a week after Warner is like, we're going to leave. And Bonta and 11 other states are like, I don't care. Sue. And listen to the states that are involved in this lawsuit, okay? Here we go. Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, and Washington. All of the West Coast major sites, Oregon, Washington, and California, New York, New Jersey, which is another big hub of filmmaking in the East Coast, and like Nevada has a ton of stuff, right? New Mexico has a ton of filming. Obviously, Minnesota, Colorado. Colorado is very picturesque, but they're a little bit less on the thing. But they have very specific scenery that you can't get anywhere else. Connecticut, Massachusetts, more eastern. That's a lot of states, and that's a lot of territory that they need to film in.
Noisy.
You know who's notably not in that? Georgia.
Georgia.
And that's where
Hollywood
Peachtree-
too.
Yeah, Hollywood too. I wonder if, because remember they just lost the MCU to London. I wonder if this is Georgia. Georgia is playing like a key advantage right here, like an actual tactic by not being in this lawsuit because they want Warner and Paramount to move to Atlanta.
Good.
I could see that happening. Because they're trying to regain some industry. I love this because like I need to do more research into what's going on overseas because I had read in passing that there looks to be some more breaking up that the EU wants to do. I could have just read a comment that was insinuating, but I did read that somewhere. I don't know how true that is. Now the states, 11 or 12 states are suing. Some of the bigger film sites in the nation are suing. I'm fascinated. I cannot wait to see how this pans out. Because again, I don't want to get so political, especially to end our show. I don't think they're suing because they think they can completely block it. I think they're suing to cause a roadblock until the elections happen. Because at some point, something's going to flip. It happens every single time.
Something's going to change.
Yeah, it always happens, right? Like we go liberal then conservative. Like it just every 4 years or so, every 6 years, something flips. We're about the time to where it should flip back in some capacity because we're very conservative right now in all forms of government. It's probably going to flip back. And if that happens, the side that it would flip to does not like this. So it seems to me, if I had a conspiracy and if I had a theory about why they're doing this, like why they waited so long to do it, is because they're trying to buy as much time until November.
And then
Anyway.
everything will get settled or move through or whatever.
But it's another thing too, is like even if it survives this year, there's another election in 2028. So by 2029, if it's a liberal president, it's just going to get broken up then. You know, like this is something that is like, it just feels like this, even if it does go through now, it would be such a short-lived marriage. Anyway, we talked about Paramount and Warner enough. I'm kind of tired of talking about it. And that's the way we're going to end our show.
Watch the pod next week. We're going to talk about Warner and Paramount.
I'm telling you, literally, it genuinely, so many things happen with that there could be this huge thing that happens and it genuinely could be that case. So I'm tired of talking about it right now, but we are film news and we will keep you up to date if something happens. So stick around if you're interested in that. We've talked about that for a year.
Yeah.
And it just will not stop. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, that has been our pod. We always like to leave you guys with a quick film or television show recommendation. It's my turn, and I have something for you guys. It's an oldie, but it's gold. Recommended via Instagram, via a reel, because that's what my algorithm pegged me with, and that's right. I do like
Your
like
algorithm
film.
did what?
I'm ignoring you. I do like film. If you guys want to see something that is a great commentary on today, but from 70 years ago, watch 1957's A Face in the Crowd by Elia Kazan and starring Andy Griffith. The story follows, and I won't spoil it because it's an interesting, just go watch it. 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, 4.2 on Letterboxd, 8.1 on IMDb. Universally loved wherever. The story follows a radio show host or producer who's dying to find a good host, and he goes into a drunk tank in a jail and finds Andy Griffith, who plays Larry Lonesome Rhodes, and is like, you have a way with the gab. You can talk. I'm going to put you on my Arkansas radio show. He gets so popular that he gets a New York talk show, and the fame gets to him. And it might become his downfall. I'm going to leave that open to you guys and you watch it. But again, it's very prominent, and the messaging of it is very relevant to today's fame in the 15 minutes or 15 seconds now that is social media fame. But watch A Face in the Crowd from 1957 starring Andy Griffith. I want to show you guys, in fact, hold on, before I do that, see if I can pull up a good image of I want to show you guys this very quickly.
As he wants to show you something.
I always want
He
to
is
show
wanting
you
to
that.
show you a little project that he did.
Look at this on the right, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that cover.
If you're seeing this in a theater, y'all watching it, be honest.
That is such a cool image for a poster. It is so old and it just feels so fun. And I am so excited to watch that film. Anyway, or for you guys to watch that film, I should say. For you guys to give the review. We'd love to hear from you guys. But anyway, that's the end of our show. Go watch A Face in the Crowd. And with that, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Love you, bye.